Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 for season 2022 of Ferg's Footy Fanfare. I am Ned, and always I am joined by Jay. Jay, how are you, mate?
I'm good, Ned. What about yourself, mate? Been an interesting week in footy. A few topsy-turvy results and a cracking fixture ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the season is really going to be determined in these next few weeks. A few sides' fates are going to be decided, so I cannot wait for the next few weeks. But before we get to that, can't look any further than round 11 coming up this weekend.
The good old
First
week at a
game.
time cliche. Take it 1 week at a time.
That's exactly right. Can't do much about last week and do a lot about this week. Can't do much about next week either. So tomorrow night, so we're broadcasting here on the Thursday night leading into round 11. So we have Sydney Swans hosting Richmond. This is a pretty intriguing battle, Jay.
Yeah, I think it is as well. Obviously, Richmond are missing a few outs. They have Lambert out, I believe, and they also have Lynch out. But in saying that, Sydney's got a few players coming in, but I think Hickey out injured is going to be quite a significant impact to their detriment. I think that once you've got Nankervis and you've got Soldo able to go in, I think that weather permitting, they could really seek to dominate the air and the centre clearances. I think it'll be a real good game. I think Sydney will get the job done.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I did see something about how when Hickey plays, Sydney generally win. I think SCG is a ground, especially with the loss of Lynch, that it's not going to really hurt Richmond that much. I did check the forecast, and it's going to be nice and clear. But I think that I'm going to make a hot take about this one. Whoever wins this game is not missing out on the 8.
Yeah, I think that's fair because is it 7th versus 9th?
Yeah,
7th versus 8th, sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and both equal on percentage. I think Richmond can do it. I'm not overly confident, but
Does
I think
Richmond play Sydney again this season? By just out of curiosity.
I think Richmond can do it, and I think they need to do it if they're going to have any credential about themselves this year. But Sydney are a good side, so they're not going to make light work out of it.
No,
so
agreed. I think, yeah, sorry. I think that I think it'll be a cracking affair. I wouldn't be tipping any huge margins, and I'd be keeping it pretty tight within a couple of goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, sorry about that. So we move into Saturday. We have Brisbane hosting Greater Western Sydney at the Gabba. I think we all know what Brisbane are like at the Gabatoir. Not an easy day out.
Yeah, and I know that last episode we talked about Melbourne in the kind of light where they might need a loss just to kind of bring them back down to earth. But I think that Brisbane, what they did last week, hopefully for their sake that puts them back on track. And that's not to say, I thought that Hawthorn played brilliantly. And to be fair, they deserve to win. But perhaps it'll just put Brisbane back into gear. GWS coming off a real good win, albeit against West Coast. So it'd be interesting to see whether they continue that really attacking style, a lot of sling from the back half and using the corridor against a team like Brisbane, because you will get punished for just the smallest of mistakes.
Yeah, it was a very out of character game from Brisbane, I thought. Not taking anything away from Hawthorn, I do agree. I reckon Hawthorn were the far superior side. And it's crazy what they can do when they rock up. For the Giants, I mean, yeah, it was a good win. It was against West Coast, though. West Coast is pretty light work. They don't make you earn it that much. Brisbane will make you earn it, and I think Brisbane take that one pretty easily.
Yeah, I would have Brisbane easily. Early Saturday, early intake, early demolish.
Yeah, well, could be one of two demolishings coming into the next game. Geelong hosting Adelaide down in Geelong. It's never an easy task going down to Geelong, and where Adelaide are at, they're pretty hit and miss.
Yeah, correct. I mean, in saying that, Geelong's been a little bit susceptible to losing at home. I personally think that perhaps the construction that they're doing at the moment might make it lose that home ground advantage feel. They're unable to fill in as many seats as they can. But I think they've lost 3 of their last 6 there now, 3 of their last 7.
Yeah, wow.
compared to some ridiculous record before where I think they'd lost 3 and 40 or 50 odd prior to that. But Adelaide, I thought Adelaide were the better team against St Kilda last week. It was just inaccurate kicking that was their undoing. So I think if they bring a similar intensity, they'll be able to stay in the contest. But their issue is their inconsistency. We've seen them rock up for games and then we've seen them just get blown out in the first quarter. I'm going Geelong. I'll go Geelong by about 5 goals.
Yeah, and then could be another bloodbath brewing in the twilight. Melbourne, they're in a league of their own, hosting Fremantle, who a few weeks ago we thought were possibly the ones that are that we're going to challenge, and coming off 2 straight losses, and then now they're playing Melbourne at the MCG, pretty depleted with confidence, I'd say. I think Melbourne do this one quite easily.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about Fremantle and why they've dropped off. Now, both games they've played when they lost to Gold Coast, when they lost last week to Collingwood, it's been wet weather. It's been a real mongrel kind of contest. They've had to, really like put their heads in and get the ball. Now, I think that when Fremantle's on, they're really classy, they're really slick, they're really clean. When the weather isn't conducive to that style of play and they have to get their hands dirty and get down, I think they struggled the real manpower inside the middle. And we know at times that their forward line can really struggle to get going as well. So I think that's something they seriously need to work on if they're going to pose any kind of challenge, because they can't be dependent on clear weather every week.
Yeah, just checking the forecast for Saturday. It's supposed to be clear, but there's supposed to be a bit of rain about tomorrow, so could be a slippery deck.
Yeah, and look, coming off 2 losses, you probably wouldn't want to come up against Melbourne. You'd like to be a bit more confident in your game and your style. But you know what? They've kind of got nothing to lose at the moment after 2 poor weeks. They may as well go out and give it a red-hot crack, and I still think Melbourne will get the job done. They're too good at the moment.
Yeah, I just think Melbourne and the MCG, I think it'll just be
too big of a hurdle. All 22 of them, or 18 of them when they're on the ground, they all work so hard. And they open up well, like that wing combo, whether you have, I know Brayshaw's done more backline time, but when you've got Langdon, you've got James Jordan, you've got Tomlinson, who's capable of running along the wing, they all just work so hard and they use the width of it to perfection.
Yeah, agree. And then this could be the 4th out of 5th bloodbaths. We have West Coast hosting Western Bulldogs over in Perth. Not much really to add. West Coast, I read a good article saying that they just fly the flag too early. They give up way too much, and that it's the worst West Coast side I've ever seen, which I agree. Bulldogs haven't been at their best, but I still think the Bulldogs should make light work out of West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, they had to stop a rampaging Gold Coast Suns outfit last week. I thought that, and I thought that they got through that okay. I think they were pretty, did well, and probably the scoreboard reflected a little bit better for them to be up by 3 goals. I thought it was a tighter tussle than that.
Yeah, Gold Coast kept them very honest.
Yes, yeah. So, and Bailey Smith out, and Josh Kennedy and Petreski-Seton in. So, might make it a little bit closer, but I think that Bulldogs might just start to be finding that gear, especially coming off 2 wins. Probably more impressive for me was a couple of weeks ago for them against Collingwood, that first quarter. Got back into that real high contest midfield dominance that we're used to seeing from them.
Yeah, and then leads into Saturday night, which I actually reckon is probably the game of the round. Gold Coast, who have been they've been decent. It's probably been one of the better Gold Coast sides we've seen, and Hawthorn, who have impressed us so much, especially that win last week against Brisbane. Greasy conditions in Darwin. It will be an interesting game.
Yeah, I think one thing that you can count on from Hawthorn is it seems to be at least 3 quarters of absolute like heads down. You know what you're going to get from your boys. So, and when they do it for 4 quarters, as of last week, we saw what they were capable of. Whether Gold Coast is going to have the polish, in what I assume will be dewy conditions. they might need some, they might need those midfielders and those young guns, Anderson, Raul, and a few of the others to really come through and have big ones to get the win.
Do you think the conditions will suit Gold Coast a bit more?
No, I think they'll probably suit Hawthorn a little bit more, to be honest, to make it a bit more of a contested game. And it'll, when Hawthorn, the trouble Hawthorn get themselves into is when they make mistakes, they leak badly. So if it's the ball's a little bit wet, they might be able to get back on defense after turnover a little bit easy. Now, a question I have for you just on this game, Ned, is this one of the defining games for Stewie Dew? You've got two teams on similar performance output this year. I would see this as it's close to a must-win for Gold Coast and for Stewie Dew.
I think so, and if not, it has to be, a 1-2 goal loss. But like what I said previous episode, the way the Gold Coast are playing now, there's no excuses. They should be competitive every time. If they're competitive and they lose to inaccuracy, so be it. Just wasn't their day in front of the sticks. But this is one that they should be striving to win, and I think they will win, personally.
Yeah, I think Gold Coast will get up.
So then we move on to a massive danger game. We have St Kilda hosting North Melbourne at the home of football, Marvel Stadium. I'll let you take the ropes from here.
I'll tell you what, it would just be the perfect send back down to earth and the most St Kilda kind of performance if they had major struggles against North Melbourne. There's really nothing to suggest that North Melbourne is going to put in an admirable performance. I think their last 6 weeks have been blowouts after that strong performance they put up against Sydney, which was largely due to accurate kicking. With no real injuries on the Saints front, I think that it should be an easy victory. And it'll just, you can always tell with St Kilda in the first 10 minutes. I think, as I was saying with you last week when St Kilda was playing Adelaide, they weren't 100%, but good teams find ways to win games when they probably shouldn't win games. And I think that was a classic example last week.
Yeah, I reckon it was a very mature win by St Kilda, highlighting what you said. The good teams win ugly. However it happens. Probably go back 2-3 years ago, that's game St Kilda lose.
Yeah, it's a botch. It's a classic one. And you know what? The margin probably goes out. They probably give up at, halftime or start to lose that momentum or any kind of hope. Becomes a 5-6 goal loss.
Yeah, and then we head to the oldest rivalry in Australian sport. We have Collingwood and Carlton Sunday afternoon at the McGee. What's your takes?
Game of the round for me. You've got Collingwood, who I think are doing overs for what I had them doing at the start of the year. They're getting a lot out of their players. I said that Mason Cox might be a chance of coming in, which, you see how Ollie McHenry played last weekend after coming on as the Medi sub, and I think he kicked 4 and he had the opportunity to kick 2 or 3 more. I can't really see why they wouldn't just persevere with him, and unless they plan on, maybe drop in Hoskin Elliott or something. I'm not too sure. It's going to be a great game. I think that Carlton are probably just a bit too electric for them. But it will be a very interesting contest to see Carlton's forwards without Mackay and with Kerner on fire go up against the likes of Darcy Moore and co down the back.
Yeah, they do have a good backline, Collingwood, with obviously Howe, Maynard, and Darcy Moore. My only thing is Collingwood, they're coming back from a trip over West. I mean, they'd have a huge amount of confidence. I just wonder if they recover well enough. I think Carlton do it, but I think Collingwood will keep them very honest. Yeah,
we haven't seen, I can't have any recollection, maybe that Doggies game where Collingwood haven't rocked up. They haven't shown some fights. So it almost seems to be part and parcel with their game style as well, as that they won't get blown out of the water. I've seen them fall off for periods against Geelong earlier this year. But you can be pretty safe for sure knowing that if you're a Collingwood fan, your team's going to go out and give it their all to start off.
Yeah, well, an interesting thing, checking the forecast as well, it's going to be nice and dry. If it was probably a bit wet, I reckon you'd be favouring Collingwood, just the way that they're able to move the ball.
Yeah, I agree.
So then we move on to the last game of the round. I think this one is probably the biggest shoe-in. Port Adelaide have a massive chance just to bury Essendon's season right here. And I think they will do it. Port Adelaide is starting to build, and it's definitely not an easy task going over Adelaide and playing Port Adelaide.
Yeah, you kind of see it as a real opportunity to build percentage, I would have thought. I thought Essendon I actually thought they were far better last week. We went to the Richmond game and saw them and blown out in the second quarter. I thought it was kind of over at halftime, but they showed the desire to get back in the contest in the third, which I thought would have been pleasing for Essendon fans. In saying that, Port Adelaide, they're starting to find their mojo. Disappointing loss last week against Geelong, albeit in Geelong. I think that they've probably got too much power on the ball and defensively will really be able to catapult off the back line.
That was a good little pun there. Power on the ball.
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad you're onto me. That might have been the only bit of homework I did all week. I was in the car thinking today, I was like, geez, I'll have to bloody put that one in there.
Yeah, nice. So that's what's leading into round 11. Have you found a nuffy of the week, or am I flying solo?
Oh, look, my nuffy of the week is part and parcel, and a good segue to my segment. You can't be doing that, so please take the reins and show us how it's done.
All right, so my nuffy of the week goes out to Cooper Gretsch.
No, he was meant to be off limits.
So Cooper Gretsch is the sole manager of AFL information, trade rumours and results. Now, all through the AFLW season, Cooper has not done any reporting, has not mentioned anything about AFLW throughout the whole AFLW season. We cop a post yesterday looking at an AFLW footballer who would like to come and promote the next AFLW season, talk about their club, pay dispute, and a whole lot more. Please send me a message. Cheers, Cooper. Now, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this when he has not reported anything on AFLW in previous seasons? Looks like the old Scoops is just trying to find an interview, or he's realised that he's made a big mistake and not been following the AFLW.
Well, that's it. I mean, you see how quickly it's growing, and he's fallen behind the times. And if he wants to be treated with any respectability, he's going to have to learn how to fall back into the times.
Enough.
All right, perfect time. Now I want to take the mic for a minute and bring up, you can't be doing that now. This one has been heavily discussed throughout the week, and it's to do with the umpiring. Yeah, I know it's the easy chop out, but it is something that I think needs to be discussed. Okay, so I'll start off. There is a page that I follow on Twitter, and I think it's a grouse page, and it's called "Has the Umpire Made a Bad Decision?" Now, as far as I know, it's this one bloke, and he just looks at all of the umpiring decisions that are made in a game. He gets people asking him questions, and he will objectively state it by the rule book whether a bad decision has been made. So he's got no bias towards any team. I reckon it's great. I want to just quickly discuss how he rated the umpiring on the weekend. So Blues Swans, poorly. Cats Port, poorly. Dogs Suns, poorly. North D's, terribly. Crows Saints, poorly. Tigers Dons, well, which I was a little bit surprised with. I thought when we went to the game that was poor.
I thought it was poor as well.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe he's just given the benefit of the doubt. And then we'll go to Giants Eagles, terribly. Hawks Lions, poorly. Freo Pies, terribly. Now, I wanted to focus on Hawks Lions. 63 free kicks. It's far too much interaction for the umpire. And we saw two of them in particular. There was that kneel push on Newcomb. And then there was also a push on from Tom Mitchell on Brisbane youngster Flynn. Ended up resulting in a goal on the boundary line into the last quarter. I think it might have put Brisbane in front at that stage. Now,
And then
I
there
don't,
was, the soft one after that. Was that the Newcomb one?
that's the Neil and Newcomb one I was referring to. Yeah.
And
So
then
that
that
one
went
was
that
just, yeah,
that
it
went
was
into the
just,
center square. Yeah.
yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So I don't think it's the umpire's fault. I think it's the AFL's fault, all the directions and directives the umpires are being given. But what over umpiring does, it creates confusion. It creates confusion and too many abstract lines for umpires to make judgment calls rather than based on the objective facts and a bit of instinct as well. So you and I are big believers of this, and I love the way that they umpire finals football, right? They put the whistle away, and the reason before that is they want the play to play out, and the umpire doesn't want to make a mistake. They don't want to interrupt the game and then base it off one call. So why not go to some, have that adopted throughout the entire season? I think that there's been too much fed to the umpires right now, and they're focusing on too many things which indirectly and directly impacts their ability to officiate the game. So you can't be doing that. I think it's going to go to the AFL for the directives they give to the umpires. And I think there needs to be a bit more of an instinctual call on these umpiring decisions rather than have them focus so strictly on what they might see as a rule. Because sure, by the law, they might be a free kick, but it interrupts the game and it can cause results that, it might prejudice how the game was actually played.
I'm in 100% agreement there. The AFL want more scoring. And the way we have more scoring is by more free-flowing open play. Free kicks do not create that. They just allow teams to be able to flood back, and then it just creates more congestion.
Do you think they should get rid of protected area?
Yes. I think they should get rid of stand as well. Yeah, you look at the way finals are adjudicated, and they're great. It's just free flowing. So what? Yeah, there's slip outs here and there, but it's great. That's what we want to see. That's the football that you and I have grown up watching through the late 2000s, early 2010s. I think it also comes back onto the AFL for overcomplicating the game.
Yeah,
The game is
I
way
think so.
too freaking complicated that this is where we've ended up. And I think this is a massive reason as to why AFL crowds are at a 27-year low.
Yeah, and I just want to go back on that protected area. So it is the most frustrating thing seeing your team give away 50 for a protected area because in all honesty, since this rule's been introduced, maybe for the first couple of weeks, it's a different story. But in the past 2 years or whatever, how many times have you seen someone actively trying to go for the bloke with the ball and trying to, break that rule on purpose? 9 times out of 10, I'm happy to say every single time, it's just some bloke that's running through and doesn't even have eyes for the ball carrier. He's just getting through.
Yeah, or a bloke that's going to have no impact on the contest.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. Yeah. So that's why it's the most frustrating thing because you see a team give away 50, but the bloke that runs past, he's got no desire to go for the ball carrier. He's got no desire to impact the play whatsoever. He's just moving upfield.
Exactly the same with the stand rule. Like you have to stand there. You move side to side, you're pretty much going to have zero impact anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just all silly. But I'm in 100% agreement with you on that. You can't be doing that.
I think that the stand rule is okay, only for the reason that it allows movement. Say if you're on the wing, and it allows you to look inboard rather than having the man on the mark shift across laterally 5-10 meters and try and cover that off. That's why I think it's the only reason that it should be implemented.
Just go back further. Give yourself more room.
Yeah, but they cut off lines coming in as well. You're not going to try and kick it over the bloke.
Just got to go back more. So I'll be going into my rant now. It's going to be again at the media. So I don't know for what reason North Melbourne have been in the forefront of the media especially about Jason Horne-Francis going home. Really without permission. It was Mother's Day. So he's gone back home to South Australia to see his mum on Mother's Day. And we've seen that the club, well, David Noble spoke today saying that there are no issues, anything like that. A couple of blokes have left, yes. But for crying out loud, just do we have to hear about this all the time? They're a rebuilding club. Things are going to happen. Conversations are going to be had that are going to have conflicting views. People are going to leave. But in all seriousness, just leave them alone. David Noble's come out and said what he believes is right. The CEO or president or whatever, North Melbourne, have come out and said that that they have full support of David Noble, and also the captain has said that we have full support. So I think the media just need to STFU. Trying to make molehills out of make mountains out of molehills. Sorry. It's just stuff that we don't really need to hear, mate. And it's just slow news day, bit more shit that we need to listen to, and I'm not buying it.
Yeah, here. I think the easy targets, not particularly North Melbourne, but I think any team that's struggling, it's very easy to look at them and start listing every minor inconvenience that occurs. I heard Brady Rawlings talking. I believe he's the list manager at North Melbourne.
Yep.
And he was talking about it. And as far as I'm aware, as extensive as the Horne-Francis matter gets, was he just didn't disclose that he was leaving a night early or that he was going clubbing on the Saturday. That was he had the all clear to travel, and the club was aware, but it was simply one small disclosure that he had failed to disclose. And the only reason they were somewhere, and he wasn't lashed out over it, and he wasn't told off for it. I think they just like to know where the players are for ASADA issues and all that. That was how it was relayed by Brady Rawlings. So I agree. First year, interstate player, any opportunity you get to go home, I imagine at 18, 19, you'd want to go home and spend the weekend with your mum on Mother's Day to play on. It's just, slow news day.
Yeah, just trying to kick them all that down. So I saw in the news last night, and I've been seeing it a fair bit on my Facebook today. Northern Territory are pushing very hard for a 20th license. Do you see this happening or not?
Long term, yes. We were speaking about towards the end of last week. I'm a firm believer and advocate for a Northern Territory team. I believe there's a proposed $300 million bid, which would see the construction of a 25,000 capacity stadium, as well as a football hub there. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to have a 3-month, I think it's something like a business study or a business proposal.
Yeah, that's right.
And then based on that, they're going to see the social impact and the potential revenue and also just the effective and positivity that it brings. So I'm all for it. I think that if you're going to have the AFL League, you should have someone in every state, every territory, and every city should have access and be able to see the best players in the country play football.
Yeah, I do agree. I think one thing that we can really see out of this is building, especially same with Tasmania, is building academies, getting these local people to be able to, say at under 16 level, being developed into professionals. And the biggest argument is, well, one argument is the financial case. I think the financial thing might take care of itself, because I know as a Richmond fan, I probably wouldn't mind going up and seeing Richmond play in Darwin. I think that'd be pretty cool. But people say the talent isn't there. And I think you only got to look at John Newcomb, and you got to look at all these blokes that have come out of state leagues. Marlon Pickett, Tim Kelly. They've come out of state leagues and people don't know them. I think and especially if academies are brought in, the talent's only going to get better. You have more professionals working with people whilst they're younger. They're going to develop more professional players. And I think an investment like this, not only to a team, but also for a pathway for young players from Northern Territory or Tasmania, it gives them a stepping stone to being a fair bit closer than what they probably would be now.
Yeah, I think that's really well put. I suppose something that might cause a bit of indecision and doubt into the 20th license being granted to the Northern Territory down the track is the ability to maintain players, and if they were to experience a significant amount of turnover. And you've got a prime example seeing all the movement come out of Gold Coast. Now, teams, when they're first initiated, they do get somewhat looked after via draft picks and all that. And I think if you were to have a look at Gold Coast team, had they not had any trade outs, is something ridiculous. And we saw GWS manage to maintain, the core of those players to make a grand final. I just wonder whether, people might find Northern Territory not a place that, they want to be spending 15 years of their life, which are, I think they'll have plenty of people there that will. And I think that it probably emphasizes the point of creating really strong talent in your academies.
Yeah, I think it's just about getting the right people in. So obviously we spoke about last week about Alistair Clarkson being available. You can get him into a Tasmania or conversely a Northern Territory. And I'm sure another coach will be gone soon. Other personnel will be gone. I think it just needs to be set up, and probably the onus has to go on the people who are driving these bids. They have to get the right people behind it to create a strong club and a strong culture and a place where people want to come and people want to stay, regardless of how things are going on the field, but just to look into the future and think, we've built a good foundation. We're going to be there at some point. And this is something that we haven't seen from Gold Coast. Yes, we've seen it from GWS, but I think it's all about setting in stone from day dot.
All right, put a year on it.
Northern Territory?
Yeah, Northern Territory.
So when they are incepted or when the license is approved?
We'll go when they play their first AFL game.
Okay. So I think Tasmania will get done. I think they're supposed to get done in August. So we'll have 19 teams.
Are you saying we'll have 19 teams next year or 2024?
No. I reckon Tasmania is probably a 2025 thing.
Yeah.
But I think with the whole broadcasting thing, they're going to be wasting their time having a bias. So I think they'll find the financial viability of having a 20th side. And I reckon we'll be seeing Northern Territory. I'll say 2027. I reckon they'll play their first game.
Yep.
Yourself?
No, better get cracking on construction. I was thinking maybe a year or two later. My first gut feel was something along the lines of 2029.
Yep.
But I think it would be great to have. Might make the fixturing a little bit easier as well. I wonder once you get to 20 teams, whether you just have everyone play once or it might be a discussion that we have in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, it makes good sense. But yeah, I think it'll happen. I definitely think it'll happen. I think they cannot afford to have one team sitting on the sidelines every week.
Yeah. I just want to have a quick flip around and go from Ferg's footy fanfare in the egg-shaped leather pill to the round ball of soccer. Now, I think the Melbourne City is going to get up against your mob on Saturday, and I am happy to put a wager on that.
What's the wager?
Oh, what do you want to do? You want to do a six-pack? Are we allowed to condone alcoholic? A six-pack of water.
Six-pack of water.
The finest water that you can find at Carlton United Breweries. How's that sound?
Yeah, sure. I think I'm a shoo-in for this one.
It'll be an interesting game. It'll be interesting to see the crowd they get. I think I'm very interested to see. I won't be going, but I'll be tuning in, and I hope to see a Chockers turnout.
Yeah, I think just for the greater good of the A-League. I hear all this bagging about the A-League. Yeah, I just hope it goes well. Just to let you know that Melbourne City have not actually beaten Western United this season, so
Geez, I can't remember
And
asking, mate. Sorry about that.
have you seen the odds actually? I checked on
No, I
Sportsbet
haven't.
today.
I haven't.
Western United are $4.80 to win.
Oh, geez. All right. Might have to put some money on Western then. Get Marco involved.
Chuck the house on it. I've already messaged Mark about it. Chuck the house on it. It's like printing money.
Yeah, it'll be a good affair. I'm sure we'll be texting each other.
What do you think? What do you think the outcome will be?
I'm gonna go 3-2 City in extra time.
Yeah, right. I'll go Western 1-0.
The 1-0. I knew you were gonna do that. You love Western.
They love
Western's
love a 1-0.
No,
It's either 1-0 or 2-1, I reckon. But I reckon
it'll
it'll
be
be
the
1-0.
replication of us last time, and I pray that was a great time. But I'm hoping that the boys in blue get up this time.
All right, Jay. Good speaking.
Yep, as per usual. Take it easy. Go Saints.